Okay, hello guys, welcome to another video in this series. Today we will be implementing this proxy server. If you haven't watched the previous video, I have explained everything about whatever we are going to build and some of the crucial things that you should know about proxy server. So feel free to just look at to it. Okay, so let's start by creating a simple folder. I would recommend you to do the same. Let's call it proxy server. Simply the name. Open it on VS Code, and actually I have something in my mind. I will tell you in a while. Okay, so since we are using JavaScript, let's use npm init. What the heck? Npm init. Yes, everything is, just keep everything default. It's just a simple project. Okay, and if you are want to make this project professionally, just use GitHub. Okay, all right. So we'll be needing some modules. For example, we need HTTP for sure, and to make calls we need Axios. Yeah, that's pretty much of it. I'm thinking of it to create a CLI command line tool, for which we will be needing commander module. We will look at it later, but let's first make a new file. It will be called index.js. Can be anything, name whatever you like. All right, let's start coding. So we'll create a const Axios. We will need this Axios to make calls to the backend. We can do it by using HTTP also, but yeah, who cares? And const, we need HTTP. HTTP require, yes sir. All right, so this is the main file called index.json, in which we will be designing the server, and there will be another file. It will be something like cli.js or something, in which we will take input, and what will be the inputs will these will be the input, the port, the backend, and the TTL system. We will take this input from the command line. That's why I'm saying we need something called as commander. It is a module, you can read about it. What is this error? File JSON. Okay, anyway, let's start making it. Function, do what the typos, क्या ही typo गलत कर रहा हूँ भाई मैं, shit. Function server net, we will call it server initialize or server init. You can name it anything you want, such as start server or whatever, just call it anything. Okay, so this server will take three things. So we'll pass an object here called as port, or you can call it URL, and TTL basically. Let's define it. Let's call it backend URL, and proxy port, just to be sure, because if you write this particular program, you might get confused in this port. You think this port is the backend port, but actually it's not. It's the proxy port. So just name it here. Okay. So let's start by initializing a cache first. This will be a map. And why is this a map? I have said this in the previous video. Damn. that why I'm using a map function, or specifically map, and we need to export this function, export dot, let's keep it default. Oh, anyway, now we will do it later. All right, so we have a server initialize function in which we are providing three things that we all already discussed, these three things. Another thing is this cache map, which will be in this proxy server. Now we will need to design the proxy, this particular server. So for this we need something called const server. Const server, let's make it http dot, there is a method called create server, I guess. Yeah, this, here it is, method called create server. This thing will take two arguments, I guess. We need to create this server. This thing will take async. Take response, this will take request, and it will give a response to the user or to the backend or anything. I'm making this async because we need to call Axios. I will do await Axios. For that we need this async function. But anyway, Axios is always async, I guess, but I don't know. Just keep it there that way. Okay, let's come back to this proxy server. There will be a request. See, one thing that I want to know about is I'm building this thing with you guys. Okay, so I want you to just understand how I am thinking about this project, or while building it, what are the things that I am looking to, what are the things that I am referring to. Okay, because writing it without using any chat GPT or these things is pretty much difficult in today's time. Okay, so I have written some pseudocode on my phone actually, so I'll be looking at to it several times. Pseudocodes really help, it really helps. Okay, so created a server, then first thing we need is a cache hit. There will be two things. First will be a cache hit, and another will be cache miss. If we miss something, cache miss, cache hit and cache miss. But how will this server decide whether it is a cache hit or cache miss? For that we need a particular key. Yes, we need a key. We need a key. We need this key. This key has to be unique. This key has to be unique, so it has to be a string first of all, and we need to give it a method. Okay, let's try to I begin it somewhere. Yes sir, it will be request dot method, request dot method. So for example, if get method is there, it will be like this, and request URL. These two things are enough if you want to make it unique. I guess it will be enough. Dot is there here, URL anyway, URL. Yes sir, I guess this will define the key perfectly. It will be always unique. It will be always unique, I guess. Yeah, it will be always unique. Okay, this thing is ready. Another thing that we need is let's start building cache hit actually. Let's start building cache hit. Const date, we need this date. What was the date? Const date, actually now you can see it now. Full date dot will give you something. First we will design cache hit, but let's design cache hit first. Okay. So cache hit means you are making a request to the proxy server and it doesn't find anything in its cache map, which means it will request this backend server. This will request this backend server and it will take some response, right? So we need to call Axios here. For that, the main practice is, the general practice is to use a try catch block. Anyway, let's move on. We will take some response, const response, come on bro, const response, it will be await Axios. Now an interesting part, we need to give it a method because we cannot write like this dot get or something. We need to give it a method, so we will pass something called an object. Bro, what is this? It will be a method and something called as URL. This will be request dot URL, request dot method, and this will be request dot URL. Right. Why is this error coming here? Identifier expected. Oh, okay. So what we have just written is, when we will ask this, when we will ask this proxy server to give something and it doesn't have it already in his cache map or the data, then we will make a call to the backend server like this. We'll make a call to the backend server. For that, we need to forward it. Whatever request or the method and the URL is, we need to forward it to here. So we are doing the same, right? We are doing the same. Okay. So one thing is completed, and when this will response, and when the backend will response, we need to store it somewhere, right? We need to store it somewhere. So we need this response.data. So we need this response.data. I get it now. So there will be a key created. Okay, so since we are making an Axios call, we'll get some response from it, right? We need to do something with this response. Yes. So let's just make something called as an object or some variable. Let's anything. We will do something with it. So we'll make some call to the backend using Axios, and it will come into a particular response variable. We need to store it somewhere, okay? And we need to do two things with it, right? First, we need to store it in our local cache map, and another, we need to send this back to the user. Okay, so we need to create a response in which we will be sending this response data or response body, whatever, and we need to keep it in our cache map also. So here we will do two things. First will be, we need to create a body. We need to create let a body be let const let a body be const body. Okay, let something be body. Actually we don't know what is it, so let it be like this. Let something called as body. So body will be this response object. So we need response dot data. Whatever data is coming from the response, we need to send it to the user, right? We need to send it to the user. So response dot end. I'll tell you while I'm using end. We'll send the body here. This looks okay-ish. But there is some checks we need to do. One thing is left. This is one thing. Another thing is we need to store it. Before sending back to the user to the cache map. So cache dot, there is a function to set it. Yeah, there it is. Key. We will set the key, and if you are wondering where this key come from, we have already defined it somewhere. Where it is? Yeah, here it is. Okay. So what the cache, this function, what it will do is, on the key it will store this particular body. So we just need to give it the body. I guess this will work. Yeah, I need to give it some that's the main thing. Yeah, now comes the TTL. I need to give it two things actually. One is the data in which I will give it a body. Body will be our data, obviously. And another is, let's call this key expire expiring expire time. Let's go, whatever. Yeah, expire time kuch bhi. Expire time, and this will be our TTL. Let's go. This will be our TTL. We've used TTL, but actually we need now we need this time plus this TTL, and we need to convert this thing on, because it's in nanoseconds, I guess. Yeah, pretty much of it like this. So we have done two things actually. We have made an empty container on which we are taking the response.data as the body. Then we will creating our own cache map in which we are storing that particular data in a key, and the key will be defined using this particular command, and then we are sending it to the body. So basic structuring of cache miss is done. I think there are some checks that we need to do, and I will do it later, but let's make, if we have something called as hit. Okay, all right, we need to do something with this body actually. We cannot just let it be like this. Let's remove this. If response.data response how can I want that if this is a string, then it will store body, and if it is not a string, it is some object or something else, then it will stringify it deliberately. So we can use type of, I guess, type of response or something. So we need to type check response.body or response.data. Response.data data, if it is equal to a string, here it is. I'm doing right. Greatest coder of all time. If this is right, then we can do this. It's no issue. What? And we can do this. Else we need to deliberately stringify it. Else body is equal to, we need to stringify it, right? Body is equal to stringify. What it takes an object. Okay, give it response.data. That's it, I guess, pretty much of it. Console data from Gmail object. Okay, it will be a long video, you just keep here. One check is done. Another thing is that I am thinking of right now is this particular set key. Let's just remove it. I need to make a cache only if it is a get method. If it is a get request, then only I'll do it. Okay, we cannot make a cache of a post request. It will be dangerous for our local server. I'll explain you why. Post requests are we cannot cache post request obviously, because post requests are not same. For example, you post your username or password, it will be stored somewhere, and then you get some response by using your username and password, and then you made some changes in your particular account, and then you again make a request by using username and password, then you will get the particular response, the previous response. You won't get the updated response because the cache map is being stored, has stored your previous response, so we cannot do that. That's why. So let's just keep if request dot method if request dot method is a get function. What get function? Literally, this is a get method. Then only we will store it, right? If it is a get method, then only we will store it. Otherwise, we don't need to store it. Then we only need to send it. We only need to send it. Okay. It looks fine, I guess. Let me check. Now we know body stringify.data. Yes, sir. Okay. Let's start working on cache hit now. To implement this hit logic, uh, this hit means that we already have that particular key and the data in our cache map. So we need to check, we need to make some if else condition. If we have that key, which we will having that key, let's say cache, where is cache dot has. If cache has that key, what we have to do then? What we have to do if the cache has already that key? So we need to send that particular data to back to the user. We need to send the response, right? So for that, we need to retrieve that data from the cache map. We'll use get function for it. Yeah. Okay. So we will take that particular data from the key, and then we will send it back to the user. By saying sending back to the user means I'm creating a response, right? Because it is a function. At the end, a server is a function, right? At the end, a server is a function. So in return, I'm giving it a response, right? So let's create. Let me just const cached data, because I'm using this because we actually need to retrieve this data first. We cannot send it directly. Obviously, we need to retrieve something from it, right? So cached underscore, let's call it data, and to get the data or to get the value from the map is actually very simple. We need to use cached, or there is a function called for each, no, get, yeah, this function called get. So we need to provide it a key and an object. Wait, a key, let me see, map key. Okay, only take one argument, that is a key. That is a key. What the heck are you typing, brother? Let's, yeah. And we need to send that data. Response dot send, not end. I'm using end, I will tell you why. Just wait. We need to send it cached data. Okay. This is pretty much of it. This end means that I'm adding it at the end of the response. Like whatever the response will come, I will add that cached data at the end of it, so that when the user will receive it, it will receive the complete package, or you can say complete response. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's the most thing that we have to do. But there is a catch. But there is a catch. We can only retrieve that data. We can only retrieve that data if our data is in the cache map. If our data is in the cache map in the time frame. So we have to use TTL again, I guess. So for this logic, first we need to check if it is in the key. Then we will check if it has that particular time limit. So this means if now is less than this particular expiry time, is less than this particular expiry time. So to access this expiry time, we need to use cached. Now it makes sense. We need to use cached data dot cached data dot expire. Yes. Cached data dot expire time. I don't know why it is not being colored here, but anyway, it says any. This is weird, but anyway, we'll walk through it. If this is, then we will send the data. Then we can send the data. And actually, if we hit the server, then we do not have to like run this particular try command. So let's just return it. Let's just simply return this. We don't need to do anything if we hit the server, hit the proxy server, right? Yeah, that's pretty much of it. Try miss that. That's it. It looks good right now, but there is something that I'm missing, I guess. I think we don't have to. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this thing is the error. This is the error. We actually need to store the response data as it is. We don't need to stringify it from in the server when we are storing it. Okay, let me explain you what was the error. So when I get back the response from the backend, it stores it in the data. Okay, there are two things. First, you store the response as it is, the data of that particular response, or you deliberately stringify it, then store it in your cache map. So earlier what I was doing is I wrote here body, right? Yeah. So this particular body, which is a stringified object. Actually, this is a stringified object. If it is already string, that there is nothing we can do. But if we deliberately change it to string, then we need to send that particular string to the user. But we need to store it as it is to our cache map, right? So for this thing, we need to check this again. We need to check this again. We need to convert it first, because we know in our cache map, whatever the data is as it is from the backend. It is not being changed in any type. So let's create another const body const body. You can, now we know it is a JSON object. Why do we know it is a JSON object? Because it's an Axios call. Come on. So JSON dot stringify. Now we have to do a stringify, because here we already have the thing in our, we already have this thing in our cache map. So we need to deliberately make it string and then send it. So this is cached data, and now I will send that body, not the cache data. This looks okayish, right? We need to add something called as else. Yeah, why do we need else? Let me tell you. Element, what? Wow, nice. Element. Else we have to delete that particular key. So cache dot delete that particular key. Because if we see, there are two conditions. If that particular data is available, we already know, but if it is not in our particular expiry time, if it exceeds our expiry time, then we do not need that particular key, or that we do not need that particular data, so we just delete it. Okay, here it is. Yeah, so this is the basic uh, you can say working of the server int function, and this is the like brute force logic. We will do something else also, but I'll make some cache errors here, cache error things. Another thing that is left is to create, we have created a server, we have to make it listen to some port, and this port will be the proxy port. And so there is a cut in the video. Yeah, so there is a cut in the video. I came across this response write head, this function. It is actually really helpful, because there is a method in Node.js used to send response headers to the incoming request. So what we can do is, uh, before actually before returning anything, we can send a response to the user, write header, write head. We can send a status 200 and an object in which we will proxy status, in which we will give a proxy status. So let's pass a string called proxy status, not proxy authentication. What is this? What's the status? And this will be a hit. This will be a hit. This will be a hit. So what this function will do, in the response body, there is a section called header section. It will add this header section, this extra thing in that particular header at the end, I guess, but I don't know. Anyway, okay. Also, we need to do the same thing before sending it to, so we can say this as a miss. we can say this as a miss. Cache miss. If it misses, so we will send that header to the user only when we are actually storing. So we have to write it here inside this if block where actually caching happens. So let's put response dot write head, write head. Again we will send the status response dot status. No, not this one. Response dot status. We will pass the same thing, proxy status. Proxy status is miss. That is actually a miss function. Alright, so after that we will send the body and we are good to go. And this everything this should be in the try block. So let me just check it if it is in the try block or not. Yes, it is, I guess. Okay, so response dot end dot body is good. Okay, another thing that I need to change is we need to actually check two things. We will only do this hitting and missing thing only when it is a get request, right? So just like we are doing this here, the caching is doing because it is a get request. Similarly, we can copy paste it. Actually, Control C, Control V, and we'll add. This will work. Bro, why you here, man? Shit. Yeah. So this is it. But there is some, yeah, comma. Yeah. So I guess now we are good to go. Good to go. Yes, we are good to go. Another thing is when this try catch block is completed, I'm lost in curly braces by shit, man. Outside this create server. So outside this create server, we need to actually go this, yeah, here. We need to go completely out of it. So just put server dot listen. So this function, what will do, it will listen to our proxy port. It will listen to our proxy port, and callback function will be called, which it will be console logged. Console log. Let's just console log these three things. I guess it will be fine. Let us console log use baptics, I guess. Console log forward on URL, backend URL, forward on backend URL, proxy running on, proxy running proxy running on port 3000 or whatever port you will give it, port 3000. So this will be a proxy port, and just give the TTL as it is. TTL and curly braces and use TTL. All right. So this particular function is, I guess most of the part is done. Uh, some of the some of the optimization is left. We will do it in some other day. Uh, this is giving some error. We'll fix it later, I guess. And yeah, pretty much of it is, I guess, working good. The server will listen onto this particular port, and as a callback function, this thing will be logged into our particular CLI.